Welcome, everybody, to the Eat, Pray, Faith podcast with Dr. Tracey. That's me. And today I have two amazing guests that are from We Are Nikki. We had brought CEO and founder Stephen Davis on a few weeks ago, and we had such an amazing download of the podcast series. Plus, people were so interested in learning about this amazing and innovative frequency device that has hit the market. And I couldn't think of two better people to bring on to really talk about and explain the frequency sets besides Nikki Sullivan, who is the president of We Are Nikki, and Miriam Cloutier, who is the operations manager, but better known as the executive of Awesome here at We Are Nikki. So ladies, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. We're happy to be here.
So I know that we talked to Stephen a little bit about the history of Nikki, but if you guys can give me just a little background on both of you and how you got involved with this company, I would love to hear the story.
Sure. So I happen to be kind of a serial entrepreneur and one of those people that's just always has their hand in something. And I come from a really holistic background in terms of the way I was raised. And my family, there was a lot of alternative medicine. It's not that allopathic wasn't part of it. There was just an and in the equation, always an and. So it was like more support or what needed to happen. And so I had met Stephen years and years ago at another company that I was working with. We had like entrepreneurial forums, and Stephen and I just kind of connected. So years later, that company had kind of had an issue and whatever happened. And I went out on my own, just doing consulting in terms of operations and human resources and administrative support and kind of coaching and everything else. And I kept hearing, call Stephen, call. And I thought, what? Why am I going to call him? But I've learned to not ignore that inner voice. So I call him and he says, are you looking for work? And I said, oh, I have full load right now. And he said, I'm drowning. I really need someone. I said, okay, well, what are you up to? So he tells me what he's up to. And I was like, oh, okay, wait a minute, hold on. Like, I really want to be a part of this. Like, this sounds really cool. And at the time, it was just Stephen and another guy who were just trying to run everything. And I started hearing from customers, and I started hearing about Lyme disease, and I started hearing about the effects of what was happening in their life from the ravages of the disease, and then what was happening of them as a result of using the device. And I went, oh, I'm not going anywhere. This is amazing. And that's just kind of, and it just kept evolving and evolving. And, you know, the offerings became greater and greater in terms of wellness support and what we could do. And that's how I remain involved. I get really excited about what we do and who we're doing it for.
Yeah. Well, you can definitely tell your passion. So yeah. Miriam, I haven't heard your story.
Oh, mine is very different from Nikki's actually. So, pre-COVID, I was a travel agent for 15 years. Loved the job, loved it. COVID happened. Part of being a travel agent, I worked in business travel, happened to have booked Nikki's worked through several different companies, and then I was her travel agent through those several companies and ended up being the travel agent for Free Medica, which was the We Are Nikki's sister company, essentially. So COVID happens, everyone gets furloughed. And what happened is Nikki and I had always stayed in contact. So everyone's furloughed. And then about 9 months later, everyone got let go because there was no travel. So I happened to email Nikki about something. And Nikki says to me, wait, are you looking for a job? And I'm like, no. And she's like, well, you should still come in and talk to us, because I was going to take a year off. And prior to working here, I was very sick with Crohn's disease, like hospitalizations. Within 4 years, I had 18 bowel obstructions, 3 major surgeries. So I was very, very ill. And so Nikki's like, well, you should still come and have a conversation with me and Stephen. And I'm like, okay, like what can happen? That was a Friday, started on the Monday. And, you know, I was fearful because, you know, I was in my 40s and I'm like, how do you start a new career at 40s when you've loved being a travel agent? And, you know, there's these moments in your life where, you know, something that's really bad turns into the best thing for you. And so what happened is I started working here. And I was our biggest skeptic. I'll be honest. I was raised, you went to the doctor, you took your drugs, end of story. There wasn't alternatives. There wasn't holistic. There wasn't any of that. It was, you went to the doctor, you got your prescription, and then that was that. That's all you did. So I started here, and I remember Nikki gave me the wave one as, here's your employee, you got to try this technology. And I'm like, guys are all crazy. Like, I'll be here 3 months max. Like, I'm like, and then they're explaining to me how, like, here's how the programs work and it's lights. And all I can remember thinking is, you guys are nuts. Like, lights are going to do what? There's no way this is going to help me. And so I think it was like my third day. So I have just not even been off my last surgery, which is very serious, like not even a year. Third day working here, I'm in Nikki's office crying because I started to sleep. And I was like, what is happening? And then this is where I'm learning, like my whole mind started to make this shift of there's more out there than the pharmaceuticals. Then what happened is so then about 3 weeks later, and when I started, I was on heavy narcotic pain rotation. Like that was my life. That's how I had to do it. And I get this phone call and it's my doctor and he's like, how come you haven't filled your prescriptions? I'm like, what prescriptions? He's like, the ones that you have for your pain. And that's when I clued in that like the technology was helping me sleep and get the rest that I needed, that I wasn't taking the pain medicine. And that was pretty profound when you've been on like hardcore pain medicines for like 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
I remember I show up in Nikki's office. I'm like, I don't care if I don't make my 3 months, you're not getting this back. Like, you are not getting this back. And so my journey was very different from being a travel agent of like almost 15 years. And that's all I know, to having to learn a Mac computer. Like, I'm like, Nikki, how do I right click? Like, what do I do? And then also learning this whole different realm of holistic. There's other things out there like, okay, you have this issue. Okay, what is the underlying cause of that issue? How can we help that without having to take a pill, without having to do this? And so it was very like eye-opening. And so it's really funny because we had this girl that worked here the other day and I was like playing around with my Nikki and then she's like, oh, have you always been into this? I'm like, okay, when I started here, I literally like took the drugs my doctor told me to take and I took him at his word and I didn't seek anything alternative. Now I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but I want to know why all of a sudden I'm getting like migraines and all this and all that. And my doctor's like, well, I don't know. But I'm like, okay, well, I want to figure that out. And so then now it's different from where I am now to where I was in 2020 when I started here. And now it's like, my doctor's like, here's a prescription. I'm like, can I try something first before we go to that? And so it's a very different journey than Nikki, because if someone said to me, losing your job as a travel agent is going to be the best thing that happened to you, I would have called no way. But it actually was, because I think if I was still a travel agent, honestly, I don't know if I'd still be here, because that job was slowly killing me with the stress that you didn't realize till you're not there anymore. So yeah, so that's how I ended up here, thinking it's going to be a couple months, and 4 years later, I am still here.
And now you're the executive of Awesome. So
I know.
And we can't live without her.
I don't know
Yeah,
what's
no.
higher than executive of Awesome besides, Stephen, but well, that's quite a story. And, I love the perspective that you bring to the company of every person's story, right? I mean, at some point, if you actually grew up in a fully holistic, crunchy family, that's awesome. But that's about what, 1-2% of the population, maybe, not including like countries where that's all they have, or indigenous countries. But if it's in the United States or Canada or Europe, or it's not the norm, right? The allopathic model is the norm. So you can bring a perspective and an empathy of, me too. I understand where you are. I understand your skepticism. And I think that's real to talk about here today. Because I know people who follow me are all into natural and functional. And when I bring up the Nikki watch or I post about it, they're like, little head tilt. They're like, what's that? How's it work? Are you sure it works? Where's the studies? And I'm like, you know what? The studies that are funding the pharmaceutical companies are paid for by those companies. So you want a study that's biased, or do you want real results? Like, which do you want? So I really appreciate your perspective coming in, both of you, as an entrepreneur helping move this entire industry forward, Nikki, and then with you, Miriam, coming in and giving the friction point of the consumer. That's a very powerful combination. So I can totally see why Stephen gobbled you guys up and was like, fine, right? So
I'm sure there's days he regrets it, Tracey.
Well,
Yeah,
with
I
all
would have to agree.
employees, there should be days where the CEO's like, I should fire them,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he won't because he can't live without you and he knows it. So just in case anyone's new, would one of you please explain what is the Nikki and how does it work? Just give me high level. We don't have to go into details because we're going to get into details on the frequency suites, but can someone just go over that high level?
Sure. So Nikki, this lovely little watch right here that we are wearing, is essentially a frequency delivery system. It's a piece of technology that happens to emit a red light on the back, not to be confused with red light therapy. And on that light are sound waves that have been, what's the word I want to say really easily? Say again, Miriam?
The sound waves, they're stacked on the light.
They're stacked on the light. Just like you would have essential oil that uses a carrier to deliver it into the body, the light is the mechanism to get the frequency into the body. So very much like when people kind of give me the head tilt like my dog does, I say, you know what? Your body has inherent wisdom. Fun tip. You go outside and you take vitamin D from the light, and the body knows exactly how to convert it. It's not that you're thinking about, I'm going to get vitamin D and the light hit me now and there's the D. That's not how it works. The light hits the body says, oh, I know what to do with that. Thanks for that information. That's all we're doing is giving information via the light to the body.
Very cool. So that's a very consumable way to explain it. And now I'm going to use that because, people ask me what it is all the time. I'm like, well, it's frequency therapy delivered through red light. But now I understand it's more of sound waves stacked on that light and it's a mechanism as a carrier. So thank you for the clarity. So I want to talk about, go ahead, Miriam.
I was going to add to that because a lot of people, like I was one of those where I didn't understand how the light would penetrate my skin. Again, the biggest skeptic here. And so somebody explained it to me. When you're little and you're playing with a flashlight and you hold your hand over the flashlight, but you can still see the light. And then that's where I was like, oh, okay. And we use red because red light actually penetrates the skin deeper. And so that's why it's a red light. And so if you're curious how it's going to go through your skin, it's like the vitamin D. We can't see the vitamin D, though we're getting it. But it's like, we're getting the information because light does pass through. Just like when you held your hand over that flashlight when you're a little kid camping, and you can, even though it's dark, you can still see all the light through your hand.
Very cool. Well, it's an amazing device. I've had great results with it with the clients that I have, and I'll just give a quick testimony. I think she actually might have made your banner, but I have a client with chronic Lyme, 10 years, and she's been to every practitioner. So she came to me and I was like, hey, let's do some things. But every time she would take supplements or anything really, even medications, she got sick. And she just didn't feel well. She couldn't sleep. She had racing heart at night. And it was like, we tried a bunch of things. And then I was like, let's try this. And she actually was the winner, it turned out, of the Nikki watch that you gave. And so,
oh, awesome.
A poll where
Love that.
their names in. And it's just how God works, right?
Absolutely. It's meant to be.
Right. And
Love
so
that.
I said, I want you to stop everything else because I just want a clear picture. Like, you don't feel good on all this stuff. Let's just stop it. And let's just try this. I mean, she feels great. She hasn't felt this great in years. And I think she's had it almost 2 months. She's doing the Lyme daily, which, I'm learning about all the frequency sets and how to run them. And that I think is the biggest question that I would like to address today is we don't have to go through each one. Let's pick some high level. We'll go through the Lyme series suite and then the wellness, which are two different suites that are made up of different sets of frequencies that are combined together, and you can run those independently, but there's a certain way that you do certain ones. And there's a whole course when you purchase the watch that'll teach you how to do it. So don't get overwhelmed if you're hearing all of this. They do really guide and help you, plus full customer service. They will help you understand how to wear your watch. And I see you got some designer bands there. I was not.
Yeah, they're going to be on the website too.
Mine doesn't have a designer band. Just saying.
I'll send some with Stephen for you for Echo, Tracey.
But for those people that might be interested in customizing their own, like your Nikki your way, like that's the whole idea, is that you swipe, tap, and play as you want to, as you enjoy the frequency sets. So it's any 20 millimeter band,
nice,
with a quick release.
So let's just start talking frequency sets that you have available, the Lyme and the Wellness. I'm going to let you guys kind of take over and teach it the way you teach it, and I'll interject with a few questions here and there, but I know that you probably do this every day. So I'm
Every day, all day, every day.
take it
We
away.
do. We
Yes.
do. I think the number one thing about the Lyme suite is that if people understand the sister device before this, the Wave One, and before that, the Wave Force One, they all had this particular, what we call our flagship program, which we now have named Lyme Daily. It's the same program. So the thing that's really important about that, which is that it is a use daily, use first, use consistently. That those are the big three: daily, first, consistently. And the reason of that is because that Lyme Daily is the foundational piece that makes everything else do what it needs to do. So it has a 30-day ramp up. And when people hear that, I want to clear up some confusion because they think, oh, it's just a 30-day program. It is not a 30-day program. It has a 30-day ramp up. We start out with a minute of what we call Lyme Complete, a minute of detox, and 60 minutes of stress and anxiety. And Miriam, we can get into what those cover, why we use those terms Lyme Complete and what does that mean. And what happens is, as you use the program, as the day has passed and you've used the program, it'll be 2 minutes, 60, and so on, getting you up to the 30 days, which is the full 30, 30, and 60. And why that's important is because it gets the body a chance to acclimate to what's happening and the information that it's being given. And for some people, there's I'd like to bust this misnomer out there that no pain, no gain. Don't believe in that. The body's giving you information. Listen, right? That's my philosophy anyway. And so we just give people a chance to go more slowly. They also have a chance to reset it and start over at the 1 minute again. If they get up to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it's too much, doesn't mean you're going backwards. It just means you're taking in the information and your body just needs some more time to get used to it. So Miriam, if you want to get into the why and what's in there, that'd be great.
I do. I also want to touch base a little bit on the history of the Lyme program, if you don't mind, Dr. Tracey, just because I know some of your customers did actually have our original technology. And so when we had our Wave One, and why we now have the 30-day program is when we originally launched the Wave One, it was actually a 3-month process. And so what would happen is you would have your Wave One, you would run the program for 30 days, and you would get detox. So the first 30 days was detox, stress and anxiety, and then a balance and restore, which just kind of like rebalanced your meridians. Then after 30 days, you would advance to, it was called Lyme Basic, where you got detox, Lyme Basic, which was a slow introduction to the Lyme programs. Then you got stress and anxiety. And then after 30 days, you would now get up to Lyme Complete, where you would start off with the detox, Lyme Complete, stress and anxiety. And what would happen is when we went from, month 2 to month 3, where you hit the full 30 minutes of the Lyme Complete, what happened? Everybody started to herx. Then, because people are very sensitive to some of the programs, right? So when we were evolving into the Nikki, we really were looking at how should we run the Lyme program, and that's where the slow progression came out. So day 1 you have the 1 minute of detox, and you have Lyme Complete, and Lyme Complete is a very comprehensive program. Like Lyme Complete covers Lyme, co-infections, parasites, viruses, bacteria, fungals, including the mold, Epstein-Barr, Babesia, Bartonella, and Borrelia. And so that is a program that is very, very comprehensive. And so that's why if you hit somebody with that going like 30 minutes right away, that could be, very hard on their system. And then you have the 60 minutes. So stress and anxiety always stays at the 60 minutes. And so we found doing the slow progression up to the 30 minutes, people responded much, much better and had less herxing. Sometimes, myself included, I've been here, like I said, 4 years, I can't make it past 15 minutes. I will start to have really bad herxine. So then what I'll do is I restart, I go back to the 1 minute and ramp up to the 15 minutes. Then I restart again. And that's just where my body sits. And I do really, really well at that. And we do have a lot of people that will restart quite frequently. I had somebody who I got an email from her the other day, and she was having a really hard time, and she had to restart every week back to 1 minute. And then day 90, it's like this light bulb went off in her body, and then everything just she wrote us back. She's like, after 25 years, I have my life back from Lyme. Can I be on your podcast? I was like, absolutely. Well, you have you on the podcast, because I don't want to say she pushed through, because sometimes it's really hard for people, especially with Lyme, to push through. But she would just every day or every couple of days, she would reset, start back, and start doing that slow ramp up. And then what happened is she felt that, okay, I've done it for 7 days. I'm going to try it for 8 and see how I do. She would do it for 8, and then she would restart, go back up. And so it really helps the body kind of have that slow introduction, because if you have any of the Lyme and co-infections and you start to address them, it can be really, really hard. And people do have some herxine from it. That's usually the biggest question that we do ask is, will I have a herx from this? And oftentimes you will have some type of herx, but hopefully it's minimal.
Detox reaction. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just going to pause a little bit just to catch everybody up so they understand. So the frequency sets are downloaded onto the wearable device on your wrist, and you have a programmable device right there in front of you that you have complete control over. You can stop, you can start over. It's all right there. So I just want to make sure everyone's clear, because these aren't just frequencies pouring out of the sky. They put other things in the sky, but this is good stuff. But from an app on your phone that you get and you download and pair it with the watch. So through a Bluetooth connection, once that's done, you can turn off the EMF on the watch as you run those frequencies. So that's a really important question I get from my clients. They're like, is it EMF-free? What's that look like? I see everybody running around with Apple watches on. Nothing against Apple. You guys are great. Love you. I mean, we all use your phones, but wearing that device all the time, I'm kind of like, what are we doing to our bodies? Carrying your phone all the time, being around your computer all the time. Like, I've made it basically a recommendation in my practice for myself, for my clinicians, and also for my clients. You got to go outside once a day, at least for 15 minutes, touch grass, sit in the sun. I don't even care it's cold. Just go out and breathe, because we're inside way too much. So just so everyone understands what we're talking about with these frequency suites, that they are frequency downloadable applications for this wearable device. The second thing that you said was you can restart. And I think in the holistic mindset, what I've noticed with clients that have been sick for a very long time is that they're very educated. Yeah. They come in, they've tried everything, tried everybody, every cleanse, every protocol, yeah. So they have this mindset of kill mentality. Kill the virus, kill the bacteria, kill the fungus, kill everything. And I think it's part of our journey back to wellness. But I also think the fill mentality is more important, because most of the time I look at people that are chronically ill that come in, they're eating very little because they can't eat many things. They're not hungry. They may have all of these infections. Their immune system is highly stimulated. They're in fight or flight. So even if they are eating, they're so stressed out over everything and have such PTSD over this that they can't assimilate nutrients. And so my thing is the fill mentality. I personally believe that if we had more fill, where we can put nutrients in, you would have less herx, because that person could modulate their immune system based on nutrient levels, vitamin D, zinc. Think of these things when we think of the immune system and modulating the immune system. You need your minerals. They're your enzymatic cofactors. You need all of that. So I love the idea of being like, hey, just start again. Because these people will come into my clinic and they'll call me and say, hey, I don't feel real good. I've been doing this protocol for 2 weeks, not the Nikki, but let's say just a detox protocol. And I'll say, oh, well, then just stop. And they're like, well, won't that ruin it? I'm like, well, is your body
Yeah.
go outside and collect more Lyme? Or like, no, it's not. It's your immune system just needs a moment. We need a fill. So we're going to relax, reset, rejuvenate. You're going to go make some bone broth. You're going to go do some nutrients, some phytonutrients, some minerals. You're going to take a whole week and just replenish, renourish, and then we'll start again. And they're
Dr. Tracey, I needed you 4 years ago.
I know. I'm like, seriously. It's such an important thing. I think just in general, as people, we don't get resourced or sourced. We forget that nourishment is not just food. It's the people, it's the media you consume, it's the quality sleep you get or don't get, it's the self-care, it's the mindfulness. Like nourishment is a whole bunch of things that go in a wheel. And can my wheel actually spin, or is it going to stop somewhere because am I not sourced in one area or more area, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do believe that chronic illness, just because it rolled out of the allopathic, well, it rolled in and then rolled back out, and we get everybody after they're kind of annihilated. I deal with a lot of cancer patients, a lot of people that have a diagnosis of cancer, and they come to me and, they've had long-term chemo and all of the things. So my whole thing, very out of the gate, we're not going after anything. We're going to fill. We're just going to replenish everything that's kind of been broken: metabolic function, detox pathway rebuild, gut rebuild, brain rebuild, and basically inflammation is your first signal of your immune system. Whether I punch you in the eye or you get a virus, you're going to get inflamed somewhere. Your lymph nodes are going to inflame, your eye's going to inflame, right? The immune system doesn't know the difference if I punched you in the eye or you got sick. It just knows inflammation, signaling, and then if there is a viral bacterial infection, it'll send an antibody, but it's also going to send something here in the form of an antibody to break down that tissue that's necrotic now. So we like to segregate the body into things, but really it's just a system of communication, which is what I love about the Nikki, is because it gives you what you need, no more or no less, and your body knows what to do with it. Just like you were saying, Nikki, about the sunlight. Now, what happens if we gluttonize the sun, right? We go out and we just lay out there like we used to with our baby oil and iodine and fry ourselves. We get burned.
Yep.
Beautiful thing about the Nikki watch is that it's a frequency of balance, and so it doesn't overdo it. But I hear what you're saying, that there's a slow build with these protocols. So you mentioned how to do them, and you've mentioned in different things. When somebody purchases a Nikki watch, where do they find the resource of, here's how you program for this? Is there a course they can take or a PDF?
We don't have a course. We do have a knowledge base on our website where we go over all the programs. So one of the things with Nikki right now is all the programs are kind of pre-programmed. And when I say pre-programmed is they're already pre-built with a certain time limit. And some of the time limits are different. So for example, the wellness programs, they all run for 8 hours. That does not mean you need to wear them for the 8 hours. So I know I switch between my programs multiple times a day. So I will usually start with, I'll wear energy. And then as I'm driving from where I live into the office, there is a tree that I have really bad allergies to. I will often pull my car over and I'll swipe over and then I'll tap on my allergies in the wellness program and start wearing the allergies. And allergies is this one program where if you have somebody who's like, I don't know if Nikki's going to work, I don't believe in this technology, and they have seasonal allergies, put your Nikki on allergies on them and then check in 20 minutes and they'll be like, my allergies are gone. And so all of the programs do run for different run times. The wellness, like I said, there are more gentler programs for overall wellness. They all run for 8 hours. The Lyme programs, because that is our most comprehensive wellness suite that we do have, they do run for different time lengths. And the reason we have done that is, so for example, our Lyme Daily, once you've ramped up to the full duration, which is the full 2-hour runtime, which is the 30 minutes detox, 30 minutes Lyme complete, 60 minutes stress and anxiety, that program, once their time has run, they will turn off by themselves. So for example, bacteria, that is a very heavy hitter program. We only have that running for 2 hours. And the reason why we only do 2 hours is because we know people will kind of set it and forget it. And then in 12 hours, like, oh my gosh, why do I feel so bad? And so we do it for 2 hours. Doesn't mean you can't run it again, but after you've run it for the 2 hours, you definitely want to check in with your body to see how you're doing. And then the detox also has a 2 hour run time.
Yeah.
Emotion, one of my favorites, 12 hours. The emotion, I will share this quick story about the emotion because I'm one of those that didn't think the emotion program worked. And we had this lovely girl, Janice, who used to work with us. And so I was trying the emotion program for like a week and I'm like, oh, this isn't doing anything, turned it off. And about a couple days later, she's like, what are you wearing on your Nikki? I'm like, oh, I actually forgot to put it on. And she's like, did you stop wearing emotion? I was like, yeah, it wasn't working. And she's like, you need to put it back on. And so I didn't realize that
Janice doesn't work there anymore.
no, she's in Kelowna now at the
No,
like
she moved.
on the lake. But I didn't realize that it was stabilizing my moods and like the stress. Because like I thought, it's one of those questions of I love to ask people is, did you notice a difference before, like, did somebody else notice a difference before you notice a difference? So here I am 4 years trying this program and I am like, this program doesn't work, Nikki. And then all of a sudden Janice is like, you need to start wearing that again because I didn't catch, like, I'd be more snappy. My moods were just obviously I was a little cranky. And so then I would put emotion on and then she'd always check in to be like, you're wearing your emotion today, Miriam? I'm like, yes, I am, Janice, don't worry. And that was a scenario where like I work here and I was like, well, I don't notice a difference, but somebody around me noticed a difference before I noticed a difference. And that happens a lot with our technology. And then one of the good things too is as Tracey, I'm sure you kind of mentioned it earlier, people with Lyme, they want to get better and they want to get better quickly.
Yeah.
And so they'll buy the Lyme program and start wearing all the programs all in the same day. And we'll get these calls and they're like, I feel horrible. And it's like, okay, well, how are you wearing the device? Oh, well, I started with Lyme and then I went to histamine and then I went to mold and then I went to bacteria and then I went to detox. And it's like, your system is trying to say, stop. And so one of the things we know what it's like to not feel well and to suffer. Like, I don't know what it's like to suffer from Lyme. I do know what it's like to suffer from another chronic illness. And I do know when you're given this little sign of hope. And a lot of people will look at Nikki as hope. They've tried everything else, like you've mentioned. They've gone to every doctor, they've done every treatment, and then they've come to us or they've come to you and they're skeptical and they also they've spent thousands and if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they'll get their device and they want to address the Lyme so fast that they start wearing everything all the time. And, Nikki is such a great tool, but it's not a sprint race. And it's like, it takes time to address the Lyme, as you are aware. And so what we do recommend is, go slow. And I was talking to somebody yesterday and she's just made it to 25 days. It's taken her about 3 months to get there. And she's like, well, I really want to start trying the other programs. And so what I suggested, so one thing that I would recommend is if somebody is having Herx and they're not doing their fill and you're curious about, and some people are apprehensive to try the new programs, and we understand that. I'm sure you would too, is like when people have a Herx reaction, they can be apprehensive to try something else, even though they really want to try something else. And so what I usually will say is set a timer for like 1 minute, 2 minutes, run that program. And when the timer goes off, stop that program, check in with your body to see how you're doing. And then if you run a program like the bacteria, the mold, the gut health, those are very big, heavy hitting programs. For the same amount of time, also run the detox, just because you want to give your body, like you want to tell your body, we need to detox this out now. We need to address it. And so though they all run for multiple different hours, that doesn't mean you have to run it for the 2 hours. It's check in. Like I tried the Lyme program today. Within a minute, I got a headache. I'm like, okay, my body doesn't want the Lyme program today. I will try it again tomorrow. And so, yeah, a lot of people when they first get it because I want to get better, and they just wear them all, and it's like, oh, we got to slow down a little bit. So,
Well, I tell people, you'll heal in time. Sickness took time.
yes,
Healing takes time. And again,
absolutely.
they're impatient, but
Yeah.
I would rather it be slow go versus feeling terrible.
Yeah.
So,
Well, wellness is a journey. It's not a destination, right? And it takes a lot to sustain wellness as it does to sustain sickness. Like
Yeah.
both things take a lot. I want to go back to something about the pre-programming that I think is really important for people to understand. When people are using and it says Lyme Daily, all they're going to see is that it says Lyme Daily on the watch and the rings kind of pulsing in and out. They're not going to see that it is automatically advancing in the background. They're not going to see it say detox Lyme complete or stress and anxiety. They're only going to see Lyme Daily and a time. That's it. So it's happening in the background for you. I think it's a really important thing because people get confused and they say, well, it doesn't say detox. It doesn't say it's doing this. It is doing that. It's just how Lyme Daily itself as a package runs. So it's important to have that distinction. And I think the other thing too is, Miriam, you brought up something really, really good there in terms of listening to your body. Like I'm a huge advocate for listening to your body, even if you don't necessarily understand what it's saying. You start to pick up patterns, and you start to pick up like, oh, that didn't feel very good, or that feels great, or I'm not sure about that, or I don't have a wow factor there. If you don't have a wow factor, you're not going to get a wow. You don't have a wow issue, you're not going to get a wow factor. But I will say there are people that muscle test as part of like needing to get information, or if they're like, what is this good for me today? Is like, this is where I need to go. There's a lot of people that do their own muscle testing or use that with their practitioners. There's also just the sense of, well, that doesn't feel right today. And that's okay if it doesn't feel right today. It might feel right tomorrow or next week. So it's just really, really being in tune with being willing to listen to what your body has to say.
well, we've been conditioned, and again, I appreciate the allopathic for what they do, but my parents' generation and probably, people a generation older or so than me, they've been conditioned not to question their doctor. So when their doctor says take it no matter what, you take it. Or, if they tell you you're fine, you might just be depressed, but you feel terrible. So we really got out of tune of just listening to our bodies. And it's a huge thing that I teach my clients. I'm like, if something doesn't feel right, you feel off, something changed, even good, please let me know, message me, or, get in touch with my assistant. I need to know. Because what happens, right? People will quit something
Yep.
and they don't tell you. And they quit because they're having a hard time with it. And it's because nobody said it's okay to self adjust. I always tell people, I'm not your Holy Spirit. I'm your practitioner, but when it comes to your own body, listen, you live there. I don't live there. And you know how you feel. So I really like, Miriam, that you brought that up. And Nikki, thanks for backing that you have to listen to your body, make the phone call, reach out, hit the knowledge base, right? Find out what's going on with what you're feeling. But really good. So,
And there's also like one more piece here. When
mhm.
you meet one person with Lyme, you meet one person with Lyme. And what I mean by that is it settles in everybody's system differently. And whether or not you've had Lyme for 10 years, 14 years, 14 months, it doesn't matter. It's settled in your system differently. So you might react to different programs. Like some people might be like, oh, I really have a hard time eating and I can't do certain things. So they might really need that gut health fill. Other people are like, wow, I need a histamine. I really need the support of the histamine because this is how this is affecting me. So that's part of it. It's part of all of that, and knowing how like what's going on with your own system, as we are all our own best advocates, whether or not we want to be, we have to be.
Yep. My favorite is when we talk to people and they've built their own routine. So I did a podcast episode and I was asking the gentleman, like, well, how do you use your Nikki? He's like, I start my day with Lyme Daily. Then I switch over to bacteria. And then he's like, and then I'll wear the stress anxiety for the rest of the day. And he he's been really sick with Lyme for about 40 years, and he was like, this is the most human I felt in for so long. And he was so excited when he was herxing, and he was celebrating. He's like, I feel horrible and this is fantastic, because he was finally able to address things that he's never been able to address before. And so he's been on a journey for about a year now, and every day we talk to him, it's something different. And he's but I feel bad, but you know what? I feel great, because now the Bartonella is not in my brain anymore. I'm able to address it in other areas. And it's fascinating how people kind of come with their own little routines, and they find their own little daily schedule with their Nikki. And I think everybody kind of finds their own thing. And as you know, healing is not linear. And, for people trying the Lyme program, and it's like you said, how people will just stop suddenly. And I think it's important to know that that is not just happening to that person. If I could say anything to those people, because I was one of those where I would just stop and I felt I couldn't say anything to my doctor. You are not alone. That happens to so many people, and so many people don't say anything. And it's important to know that there is resources out there. And, once you talk to someone going through Lyme, and I remember talking to somebody, I'm like, I don't have Lyme. I said to her, but I know what it's like to wake up and your hair hurts because you're in so much pain. And she's like, yeah. And so, share those stories, because you don't know whose lives you're making a difference in, because some people think, oh, why is this happening to me? And it's like, well, you know what? It's actually happening to other people too. And it can be normal, and it's okay. It's, any illness is really hard. It's hard mentally, it's hard physically, but it's important for people to know, there's not alone, and there are things out there, and there's naturopaths to help you that, conventional medicine may not help you with, and you might need that. I know for me, my naturopath got me to that next level. Working here got me to that next level. I made it years without a hospital. Before it was every 3 to 6 weeks was a hospital. And, there's things out there. It's beautiful. There's days where you don't want to work here, but then you hear from that person, I got my life back, and you're like, this is why we do it. This is why we do it. So,
yes. Well, I think we talked a lot about the Herxheimer reaction, so I just want to cover that for people that are listening that may not understand exactly what it is. It's basically a reaction that happens when your body rapidly kills off large amounts of pathogens like bacteria, parasites, fungus, even viruses. And those microorganisms, they die and they release toxins, specifically things like endotoxins, lipid polysaccharides, cellular debris, stuff that gets put into your bloodstream, and your immune system actually gets triggered because it detects this massive load of toxins, and you get massive inflammation. So you have a pathogen die off, you have a toxic release, and you have an immune activation. All of that can lead to this really unwell feeling. And so what we're saying is you don't have to go big or go home to get results. You can start your Nikki your way, is what Nikki started out saying in the beginning. And we've talked a lot about Lyme, and I think that is the history of where this device kind of emerged from. Stephen from the first podcast told us the story of his daughter and of his grandchildren, and amazing recovery there. But it's so much more. I mean, you have a wellness suite we haven't really even touched on. And just for people that are listening that just want to have a better sense of well-being, to have something that they can wear that also tells your time, is very fashionable, but helps you. People are always looking to ways to better themselves. So maybe we can touch on the wellness suite in the last couple of minutes, if you ladies still have time.
Absolutely. I still have time for sure.
Yeah, the wellness suite it was the impetus for creation for the wellness suite is that we wanted to support people beyond Lyme, what was happening with them beyond Lyme. And it's well, what else could we offer? Well, how else could we support? What might that look like? Because people were having such great results. And we thought, well, how could we expand on this offering? So that's where the wellness suite came into being. We started to look at what are the other areas that people might need support? Oh, well, people need proper sleep. People need, support in energy. People need support with pain. I am not without this device with pain. I happen to have 3 different chronic pain conditions. And so it is for me a daily use situation that if I'm not, I'm like, oh, I'm not moving my head as well. Oh, that's because I don't have my Nikki on pain. So the wellness suite came into being as an extension of more support and more offering. It's like looking at the body again holistically. What else could we do that would be amazing to give people support for them to be on their journeys and their lives and their daily living, as opposed to, oh, I'm going to do energy and I'm going to, slam back espressos and Red Bulls. And it's like, that's a choice. That's certainly a choice, but it's also going to come with consequences of the crash afterwards, when that caffeine leaves your system or the sugar or whatever. So just again, looking at the body as a whole and beings as a whole and our lives as a whole, what else could we offer that would be great? So travel is another great one. I use travel on the regular, when I'm just outside my own environment, because I know what's in my environment. My body knows what's in my environment. But as soon as I've left my environment, my body's going to be challenged by what else might be there. So these are some of the things that we looked at in terms of the wellness suite and offerings. And then we started to create these fantastic bundles, morning, afternoon, evening, because we wanted to have people have an opportunity. It's like I didn't want to have to choose between energy and pain and stress. Like I want them all together. And so I run those bundles so that I get, some of the things I need. Funnily enough, a lot of us with the energy one is in particular, we're like, oh, we have to turn that off at like 5 o'clock. Like, let's take it down a notch. And we weren't figuring it out. We were like, why are we not sleeping? What's happening? Oh, we're still running energy. But
the favorite of energy is we were in a phone call with Steven when we were before Nikki launched, and he was hyper. And we're like, what is wrong with Steven? Like, oh no, it was like hyper, where we're like, what is happening? And so we're like, Steven, what's on your Nikki? He's like, energy. Why? We're like, you need to turn that off. Like he was going a mile a minute. It was so funny. There's been a couple times we had a girl that worked here who also was like, one day she was just like bombing around the office, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, what's on your Nikki? She's like, energy. I'm like, you might want to stop wearing that after 2 o'clock because it is making you so hyper. But yeah, the wellness programs are phenomenal. And they are really, what I love about them too, is they're an affordable introduction into frequency technology. And they're a really good set. I'm just going to go through the sets quickly just so we have it. And so Nikki mentioned the morning, afternoon, evening. So those are our bundles. And we had feedback from customers where they're like, well, I don't want to wear just one. I want to wear more than one at a time. And so the morning bundle runs travel, pain, and stress and anxiety. Then the afternoon, when that midday slope happens, the afternoon bundle gives you energy, immune and pathogens, and stress and anxiety. That one's one of my favorites. And then the evening, we're kind of going to slow things down, and it is the immune and pathogens, pain, and stress and anxiety. And so people love those bundles. And then the singular wellness programs that we have is allergies. I live on the allergies. Energy, another big popular one. The pain, immune and pathogens, sleep, stress and anxiety, and travel. And so that's our wellness program. And that's a really good introduction into the Nikki wellness technology. I find it's like a slippery slope because all of a sudden it's like, well, now I need all the other ones. And I'll share a quick story if we have time. My mom was very apprehensive about our technology, and she is 72, I think. I can't remember. And we were gifted them before Nikki was even available to the public. We were gifted some to give to families for Christmas. And I was like, Mom, you should try this. She's like, nope, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to try it. Then what happened is she got like a virus. And I was like, Mom, you should really try the Nikki. And she's like, fine. So she has really bad arthritis in her hands and her knees and everything. And then what happened is she starts to love her Nikki and doesn't really say much to me, but I can see her in her garden doing more. She's got more energy. So it was like a couple of years ago or about a year ago now. Hey, Nikki, I'm in a meeting with like Nikki and Steven, and it's like an intense meeting, and my mom is calling my phone, and I am like, oh, somebody died. Like my mom never calls me at work. And so I stopped the meeting and I'm like, I'm really sorry, you guys, there's something wrong with my mom. I call my mom and she's like, because she had a Nikki before we had it to the public, the programs had an expiry date. and her program's expired. So she's like, my Nikki is not working. Like everything has a clock. Like what is going on? And I was like, Mom, no problem. We just need to connect to the app and use an activation code. And she's like, how am I going to work in my church garden? Like, I don't want my pain to come back. I'm like, my hands are going to hurt. Like, I was like, Mom, we just need to get the app. She's like, I don't have time for this. And like hung up on me. But then it was, I love that story of my mom because she was really nervous of the technology, but then she started like using the pain program specifically. She started to go back to her church. Now she joined a volunteer group. Now she works in the church garden. Now she has more of a social life than I do. Like I called her on Friday. I'm like, Mom, where are you? She's like, oh, I'm out having tea with the girls. And it gives her the ability to like, is her pain gone? It's not completely gone, but she's able to function. She's able to function again. She's able to go into her garden. She's able to do her volunteer work. That's really important to her. She's able to do her church greeting and she had to stop that for several years. And so it was, when they expired, it was the end of the world. But yeah,
Wow.
the wellness program is one of my favorites. I use all those programs the most.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So,
And these wellness programs were also like, we had a quality of life study done. And it's really important to mention this because we were like, okay, do we have something here? Like what's happening? So we did a quality of life trial down with the Center for New Medicine in Irvine. And we had participants unknown to us and they had to sign waivers and do the whole thing. And they went through this trial and the results were that their quality of life had improved drastically, whether it was being able to carry groceries or to have an exercise or to walk or to digest things or to sleep better, or their pain was decreased. Like these are the things that we learned as a result of the quality of life study. And I think it's important because wellness doesn't always mean that it's going to be great. Like sometimes on a wellness journey, it sucks. Sometimes there's things that hurt, or you have a setback and you're like, or an old something comes to the surface you weren't expecting. And you're like, why is that happening? As Miriam mentioned earlier, I feel that it's not linear. So while the wellness programs are supportive, they are meant and suggested in terms of support for quality of life, and whatever quality of life that you're aspiring to. Like I don't aspire to run marathons, but I do like to be able to turn my head. It's kind of important to me, but for me, that's a huge deal. It's a huge deal, but other people might, want to be like, their aspirations are different than mine. But for me, that quality of life is that like, oh, I can sleep tonight and I don't need medication. Oh, I'm not in so much pain. When's the last time I had to take pain meds? That to me is a huge quality of life.
that's amazing. And I don't get people coming to my clinic trying to train for a marathon. I don't get those people because they're healthy, primarily. I get the people who are looking, they'll say to me, listen, I don't need to be thin. I don't need to be this. I just want to be able to pick my grandbabies up. I just want to be able to not have pain every night. So it is a quality of life. That's what people seek out health professionals for, because they realize that once their life is impacted by whatever X, Y, or Z issue they have, then they pay attention. It's not that they don't know they have it, right? If you have heart disease, you know you have it, but people don't normally do anything about it until it affects their quality of life, and then they're going to get serious. So it's a really important point that when you say this device was put into a study that improved the frequencies, improved quality of life, that's huge. It's huge, and everybody should pay attention to that. So that's pretty amazing.
It wasn't little. It was like 75%.
Yeah.
It was massive. One of the other questions, I'm just going to bring it up quickly, is one of the questions we get asked a lot on our team is, do I need to have Lyme to purchase the Lyme wellness program? Do I need Lyme to wear it? No. That Lyme program, Stephen, who is our CEO, definitely go back and listen to his podcast with Dr. Tracey, because it was a phenomenal podcast. I knew it was good when we got a flurry of emails from people that had listened to the podcast, and our team listened to it. And Bernadine had this whole sheet of notes of everything you guys loved. She loved it. And So Steven, who is our CEO, he does not have Lyme. He wears the Lyme program every day because of, it deals with a lot of inflammation. It deals with bacteria, it deals with viruses, deals with Epstein-Barr. It deals with mold, which a lot of people actually have. And then, so you don't need Lyme to take advantage of the Lyme Daily program. I wore the program. I don't have Lyme. I love the program. And, the gut health program that's in the Lyme is very comprehensive as well. So
Everybody needs that one. Hands down.
absolutely.
We're all
Absolutely.
metabolically broken,
Yeah.
and the number one selling peptide/drug is Ozempic. Everybody should put on the gut program because
Yeah.
that's GLP-1 is produced, is in the gut. So
Nikki was a big advocate of ensuring we had a gut health program when we went from just having the one Lyme program to all 10. Nicole, she's our president. She was like, she fought and fought and fought to make sure we had a gut health on there because she's like, the brain and the gut health connection is massive.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And nervous system. Absolutely. So good job on that.
Yeah.
So what's the future of We Are Nikki? Where are you guys heading? What are you looking to do? Develop frequency?
Got a lot happening.
Oh, there's a lot happening.
Give me a
I
couple
would say
highlights that you're allowed to share.
I was like, I don't know what I'm allowed to share or not. So
yeah, exactly. So what we're looking at is the continual expansion of package offerings. We are constantly on the lookout for development of what we're hearing in terms of feedback from our customers, what we're noticing in trends that are happening, in the world in terms of what people are dealing with. There's a huge information about stress. Well, stress is not just stress, right? Is like a cortisol situation stress? Is there stress from like you just needed some nervine tonics, or like where are we at? So there's more in-depth things to be coming from us, and a continual opening and offering of frequency packages. That's the hope, is to always continue looking at how can we improve quality of life. What can we offer in terms of supports for everyone, because everybody's put together in their own way. And Miriam kind of used the analogy earlier, but it's like there is this symphony happening in here. And if there's dissonance, how can we bring, it's like, oh, the wind section is out. Okay, let's bring some clarity to the wind section. Oh, okay, the brass section is out. Okay, let's, so that your personal symphony is operating in a way that makes sense. So we're always looking to expand on those packages, and there may be a form factor shift too. So we'll see. We're just looking at different ways where we don't have to compete with what might be happening on the body if people don't want to wear a watch or if they want to wear something else. So we're always looking at ways to develop that. But I'd say the very first step is that we would look at how can we offer people an opportunity to play more than one program at once, because that's a big one. And then the next would be, an expansion of an offering of packages.
Yeah, I will share something. It'll be the first time we've announced it publicly, Tracey, but I'll share it. So I don't know when this is going to air, but I know you're going to Cellcore or Echo next week. So one of the limitations that we've just rolled out, so Nikki has a limitation of only 20 programs that will fit on the Nikki. So one thing that I will share is the information that you purchase, whether you purchase the wellness program, the Lyme program, or we have some co-branded deals for Superhuman, you're only ever able to have 20 programs on your Nikki. Now, no matter what you purchase, the information of what you purchase is stored on your Nikki, not in the app. You're only going to need the app when you activate. Now, because there's that limitation of the 20 programs, somebody would go to an event, they would purchase a special edition, or, if someone's at Cellcore, they purchase their special edition Nikki, but then they're going to go see Tracey and like, I want to add the wellness. So what you'd hit against is you're hitting against that 20 program limit. Well, now you can pick and choose what programs you want on your Nikki. And we've just launched it. And so I'm just going to walk through the steps quickly, Tracey, so you can edit it out, but then you can also keep it for your training if you need to. I do have a video I can share with you. And so basically what it is if you have hit that limit where you have the wellness, you have the Lyme, and maybe you have got access to something else at an event or through Get Healthy or one of our partners, what you would do is you would just reconnect your Nikki to the Nikki Connect app, and you're going to tap the three dots in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to go to where you're going to activate your frequency suites. And then now what's going to happen is you scroll down, you're going to see a whole new option where you can install and uninstall the programs onto your device. So you can pick what 20 programs you want to have on your device. And that's ready for everyone's Nickies right now. So it's very exciting. We worked really hard to get that rolled out, but then now we've kind of, because we had that limitation where we can only do 20, but then now as partnerships are growing, as the programs are growing, we needed to find a way where people can pick and choose the 20 programs that they want on their Nicki. So it's really important that it's stored on your Nicki, not on your technology. And then something else too, I don't know if you knew this, Tracey, or if I've sent it to you. When your Bluetooth is off on your Nicki, it is 0 EMF. And so we had a customer actually record a video for us because I was like, I'm really curious. And he's somebody who got in an argument with someone online. He's like, yeah, I'll prove it. And he recorded the Bluetooth with a microwave, or his EMF meter with his microwave, which I had no idea they did so much EMF. Then he went to the Nicki and you literally just watched the meter go from 500 down to 0. And so having your Bluetooth off on your Nicki has that 0 EMF, which is really exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, this has been amazing. I learned so much every time I talk to you. Thank you so much for being here and for everything that you're all doing in the industry. I know how hard you guys work. We certainly do appreciate it. Do you want to leave us with any parting words or for the people listening?
You know what? Any questions, let us know. And, Tracey, if you want us back and if you have a lot of questions, we're more than welcome to come back and have an FAQ episode with you and the people in your community as well. That's no problem.
Oh, that'd be
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah. I think the thing is too, is that recognizing whether or not you understand frequencies or frequency technology is that you are being bombarded by frequencies everywhere you go, from your microwave to the x-rays to the radio to watching television. Those are all frequency medium, right? That's all happening. So why don't choose the ones you want? Yeah. Right? It's really easy. Swipe, tap, play, choose what you want.
That's right. Ones that are healthy for you. How about that? So that would be great. Well, thank you again, ladies, for being here. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We certainly do appreciate that you subscribe. Please share this podcast with someone that you feel could really use it. There are people everywhere, 450,000 cases of Lyme that are undiagnosed. It's up and coming, as one of the top chronic issues that people suffer with. I just love the fact that we have something tangible and works with our body to really help overcome some of these symptomologies and support the body towards healing as it naturally should. So, ladies, thank you again. Thank you, Stephen, for all your incredible insight and for having these two ladies as part of your team, because I know you can't do it without them. All right, guys. Have a great
Fun at Echo.
Thank you. You too.